Hi, welcome to the Shepherd's Rest Dog Talk. This is episode 99B.
I'm Cam and this is Julie.
Yes, this is the Haftorah discussion of this week's Torah portion, and it is found in Joshua.
Ooh,
yeah, so
I
we're
like
not
me
very
some
far
Joshua.
from the Torah
No,
stuff, you know?
That's right.
All right, so it's Joshua 2:1 through 24. Now, I love this because it's funny because I wrote the history, you know how I do a little history lesson before,
Yep.
and I thought, I don't know why I'm doing this because we're going to talk about it in the Torah portion, but we didn't talk
No, we
about
didn't
the 12
talk about
spies.
it.
So now
was last
all my
year.
notes, they're going to count. All right, so... All right, so just a little bit of history. We know that Moses sent 12 spies into the land right before they were going to go into the land. That's actually this week's Torah portion. Now, fast forward, all these years later, we have Joshua doing the same thing. He's going to send 2 spies into the land, not so much to see, oh, I wonder if we can take it, but a
Which
lot
was
of,
not the original
it
point
was
either.
not, right. It was not the original point, and it's not the point here. But a lot of people think, oh my gosh, didn't Joshua, he saw what happened the last time. Why is he doing this? Just go in and take the land, you know. But a lot of people say, no, this is Joshua's faith in that generation to reverse that so-called curse that they had put on themselves. And I love how there were 2 spies that came back with a good report, and he only sent 2 in.
Yeah.
Instead of 12.
He's like, let's just get the same
let's just,
So where were those 2 from, did it say?
It does not say. It's interesting because he calls them 2 men.
Okay.
But then if you fast forward to Joshua 6:17, it's either 17 or 27, he calls them messengers, which is the same word melech that they use for
Yeah, it
angels.
can be a man or an angel. It
Yes.
can be either one.
And it's kind of reminiscent of the Lot story because he
yeah.
sends the 2 spies in to Jericho before they're going to take it over
Right.
and destroy it, right? Just like the Lord sends the 2
Right.
messengers in
To get
Lot. And we have Rahab coming out. So when they're going in at first, they're 2 men. They're
Yeah.
just 2 men, 2 spies going in.
Right.
But when they come back, they're referred to as messengers. And I really believe it's because of messengers are used to enhance the gospel, to speak forth the gospel.
Right.
So we have Rahab and her family being saved through this visitation that the 2 men had. So now they're referred to as the messengers because Rahab and her entire family are going to be saved because these spies went into the land. Okay?
Like it.
What I thought we'd do is I'm just going to start reading because it's real short.
Okay.
It's only, like I said, 1 through 24. I'm just going to start reading and then we'll stop and discuss little bits and pieces of it. Okay? All right, so starting in 2:1 it says, And Joshua, son of Nun, secretly sent out 2 men from Shittim to spy, saying, Go see the land and Jericho. And they went and came to the house of a woman, a whore, and her name was Rahab, and they lay down there. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. So Rahab is considered a whore. She's considered a harlot. But I want to talk about the culture at the time so we can have a better understanding of what she really was. She wasn't like a temple prostitute or any. All right, so in these Canaanite villages, within the walls, you would have women who owned inns.
Yes.
So you had them in Babylon, you had them in the Canaanite world, you had them, even the Hammurabi codes talk about these particular women. They were called, I know in Babylon they were called alewives, but here I'm not sure what they're called. She's just a harlot, and they own inns, okay? And this is where people coming in, they know they can turn in here for food, lodging, drink, and anything else that they need.
A
if
little
you know what I
bedtime
mean.
treat,
Yes, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So the fact that she was doing this,
Well, and she owned her own place.
yes,
So
she did.
That's immediately makes it different. One who owns, and she's a business person. I'm not condoning prostitution. I'm just saying she's a business person versus the one on the corner who has a pimp.
Right. Well, yes, and that's just part of their culture.
Right, that's what I mean,
Just, you know, and she lived with her mother and her father and her brothers and sisters. At least they lived close by, and they were
'cause
close
they
to
come
her
in,
because they all come into the house later on to be saved. Now, moving on to 2, it says, But it was reported to the sovereign of Jericho, saying, See, men from the children of Israel have come here tonight to search out the land. All right, so these women, according to the Hammurabi codes and according to Babylon, I would imagine it's the same for the Canaanite also. They were also kind of spies. All right, they saw what was coming in, and they were to report anything suspicious to the king. If they had some strangers come in that looked like they were, had other intentions other than just food, lodging, and whatnot. So isn't it interesting that the spies came to Rahab's house, who was the spy?
Right, which makes sense because they're going to go to where you can have lodging that happens to be those women.
Right. I mean, it was part of their law. Like if they didn't bring those men forward, they would either
lose
put to
their
death,
business
or they would
license.
lose their business, or they were fined, or whatever their law said. Yes. All right. Now 3, and the sovereign of Jericho sent to Rahab, saying, "Bring out the men who have come to you, who have entered your house, for they have come to search out the land." But the woman had taken the 2 men and hid them. So she said, "The men came to me, but I did not know where they were from." Then it came to be, as the gate was being shut, when it was dark, that the men went out. I do not know where the men went. Pursue them quickly, so that you overtake them. But she had brought them to the roof and hidden them in the stalks of flax which she had laid out on the roof. Now, I want to talk about this for a second, because in Christianity, they have such a hard time with this. Because she lied. Right? Now,
and they have a problem with that in the Holocaust.
Yeah, because they lied. They lied. Right. The point here is, who did she fear more, the king or the God of Israel? She feared the God of Israel. And not only did she feared the God of Israel, that she preserved their life, she pointed the others in the wrong direction, knowing that if she got caught, she was going to be put to death. So in a way, she's laying down her life for this God that she only heard about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of really interesting, because here she is. She's a watcher of the city. She's stuck in this culture, but she's heard about the Lord. And when presented with these messengers, these witnesses, these spies, whatever you want to call them, when presented with these messengers, she sides with the Lord and decides to not side with the institution that's not forcing her, but creating an atmosphere where she is a whore. It made me think of your Torah portion a few weeks ago when you said, woe to the priests who cause their daughters to whore.
Yeah.
And then it makes me think of the church today, who is considered the whore of Babylon, or whoever the whore of Babylon is. I don't want to call it the church or whatever.
Because that's not it. I mean, it's people. It's some within. That doesn't mean it's all the church.
Right.
Like you said, there's also the gold and all the things on her that's going to be taken up. That's inside the church too.
I would say Rahab is a part of this gold.
Oh,
even though she is a harlot and part of that culture, when presented with it, and we're going to see later when they do come and destroy the city, she goes into Israel. She's absorbed through Israel and forsakes all of those cultural ways and becomes a very important part of the lineage of Yeshua.
I was thinking about, what we really see is kind of how Stephen talks about the first time they failed, the second time. So the first time they went to go through, the second time they didn't.
Yes.
But we would also see here, the first time they went in, they didn't spread the gospel. They didn't witness. But also, it doesn't say anything about everyone being afraid, to the extent that now the Lord has prepared the way for them.
Right.
Absolutely. So that they can present the gospel.
And what I love about that is she goes on to say in 9, and she said to the men, "I know that Yahweh has given you the land, and that the fear of you has fallen on us, and that all the inhabitants of the land melt away because of you. For we have heard how Yahweh dried up the water of the sea reeds for you, and when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to the 2 sovereigns of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you put under the ban. And when we heard, our hearts melted, and there was no spirit left in anyone because of you." Now, some of these things happened within those 40 years. Had they gone in right away, maybe it was just, rumored that you came out of Egypt. But now they've seen what's happened to right across the Jordan. Yes. Right. And he's preserved them. And it's 40 years later. But you're right. They now have a testimony.
Yes. Right.
Of what to witness to this woman.
Yeah, everyone's seen the proof that their God, the God of Isaac, or God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is willing to sustain them.
Yeah. And isn't it funny how she's like, our hearts were melted. We're all in fear of you.
Yeah.
That's why the king is like, oh my goodness, where are these 2 men at?
Right. Are they coming after us next?
Yeah.
Right.
Now, starting in 12, we see that she wants them to swear to her that since she did this kindness, that they will be kind to her and her father's house, her brothers and sisters, everyone that's in her immediate family that she cares about.
Right.
That they will be kind to her and preserve her. And so they say, okay, fine, we will do that. But you have to do something so we know that it's you.
Right.
And we see this starting in 17. It says, and the men said to her, we are released from this oath of yours, which you have made us swear, unless when we come into the land, you bind this line of scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, and unless you bring your father and your mother and your brothers and all your father's household to your own. So here she is having a form of Passover, right? Because the Israelites had to put the blood over their door, and everyone who was in the house, they were spared, right?
Right.
Same thing's going on here. She puts this cord through the window, and everyone in her household is going to be spared. So she's having her own sort of Passover, right?
And it's in the land.
Yes. Ooh,
But she's coming out, yet she's
in the land. Isn't that interesting? So
yes, it
you've got
is.
both things going on here, right?
Yeah.
You have those of us coming out of Egypt. We want to come out of Egypt, but you also have the ones that are already in the land who need to have the faith and put the scarlet thread.
Yeah.
Like accept Messiah as the Redeemer. Right?
Hello? Wink, wink.
Right. And there's one more thing I want to talk about in 21. It said, and she said, let it be according to your words. And she sent them away, and they went, and she bound the scarlet cord in the window. Okay, she did it right then.
Right.
All right? She had already told them, look, go here to the Jordan. Well, she told them, go hide by the Jordan for 3 days.
Okay.
And then they had to go back to Israel. And then we see, if you keep going, it was several days before they actually got to Jericho.
Yeah.
But she did it right then. She didn't miss out on her visitation. Even though she knew she had time, she's like, no, I'm doing it right now. Right now, I am making my commitment and binding myself to Yahweh, the God of Israel, instead of my commitment.
She didn't want to miss it.
Right.
Which also makes me think of Abraham, because he was always first thing in the morning.
Yes.
He was as soon as he could.
And it kind of reminds me of what you were talking about with the Zit seats, right?
Yeah.
The Zit seats are kind of like shows who we're binding ourselves to.
Yeah.
That cord, the scarlet cord, showed who she's binding herself to. It was a physical action that she had to take.
Yeah.
Right.
And
James talks about that. She was deemed righteous because of her works.
Right.
Not because of what... She had already had belief, but she had to do something.
Right. And yes. And that's what we look over so often, is not something's required anymore of us.
Right. And it's also reminiscent of what Yeshua said when he returns. He's going to separate the goats from the sheep, and he's going to do according to how they treated Israel.
Yes.
And this is, she did it to the two witnesses, but is as if she did it to the entire nation. Right. So how she treated... and she took them in, she hid them, she took care of them, she told them what to do. Yeshua talks about the same thing,
Right.
We're going to say, when did we do these things? When did we clothe you? When did we feed you? But when you do it to the least of these, it's as if you did it to me. She is rewarded because of her compassion and because of her generosity and hospitality.
Yeah, and that's
just
to
like
the
Lot.
strangers.
Lot was rewarded because he was hospitable to the two messengers.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Two messengers.
Yeah. All right. Well, mine was short and sweet this week. That's all I have for you today.
I love Joshua.
I do too. Yes, I've been reading it, and I was reading ahead to see, how long was it before they came into the land and before they actually got to Jericho. And the fact that she just did it right away really spoke to me that, we don't want to be, all right, when I get around to it, or I'll do that someday, or, she right away bound herself to Yahweh instead of the culture that she was a part of.
It's like the Lord was already preparing her heart by letting them all be afraid.
Yes.
Already preparing those who might reach out.
That's right. And it kind of makes me wonder what these last days are going to be like. How many spies is he going to send out to see, all over the world? Is he going to find faith when he returns, All right, well, that's all I have for you today. Please join us next week for episode 100. I don't know. What are we going to do? I don't know.
I thought we need to have like the confetti fall and some big alarms or something.
I know. And the funny thing is, we've been building this up, right? For so long, and now we're
Now
probably...
it's just gonna be like, welcome to 100.
I probably won't have
Seriously,
anything.
that's it.
All right. Well, we hope you have a fantastic week. Shalom.